Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for 502 Sports. Hey everyone, welcome to a new edition of 502 Sports. I'm your host, Adam Hitt, here in our 502 Sports studio. A big shout out to our friends at Take Tie who continue to support our coverage of local athletes and teams in and around the 502. And we have a very special guest on the show for you today. She is a standout defender who has really become a pillar of the back line here in her hometown, coming from Assumption High School and Racing Louisville Academy to a stellar career with University of Louisville women's soccer program. She contributed nearly 3,000 minutes for the Cards and earned an all-ACC academic honors. She also played a pivotal role in Louisville's historic 2025 season, helping them lead their team to an undefeated season at home, along with 11 shutouts, 2 goals, and a huge NCAA tournament victory over Kentucky. So she is now a grad transfer heading to USC, which is really exciting to play this year in the Big Ten. And I'm really excited to welcome to the show Hadley Snyder.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you on the show. And I really wanted to start off by asking you about your college career with the Cards. You've had 4 great years. How would you really kind of describe that experience that you've had getting to play for the women's program at U of L?
Oh my gosh, it's honestly indescribable. It was such an honor, I think, to play for my hometown team, the team I've always been a fan of. Just being able to contribute to that team was my goal, my dream in life. So, I mean, it was really just incredible to actually get to live that reality. It was also the hardest thing I've probably ever done, but it was so worth it. And all like our 2025 season really just made it all worth it. And the people that I met there and like the lifelong friendships that I created are more than anything I could have expected.
So when you think about your time, those 4 years, what is it that stands out to you the most? Like what's your biggest memory, or like, the biggest thing that stands out to you from those 4 years?
The biggest thing I'll take away is, well, a couple things. First of all, are the relationships, the people that I met, my teammates. I was lucky enough to go in with a class where most of us stuck it through for all 4 years, which is pretty rare with the transfer portal now. So we graduated with 8 people in my class, and those girls just became my best friends. And then also just like the coaches and support staff that were around us, we just all grew so much together, and that community was really something that I'll cherish. And then also, I would say I'll take away so many lessons for myself, most importantly, my confidence, because I think going in, that was the thing I struggled with the most. That was like everyone says college is different, but you don't really know what that means until you get there. And for me, that was confidence and feeling like, okay, I actually do truly belong here and I can play at this level. And so growing and maturing in that is something that has, helped me get to where I am now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You mentioned being a lifelong Cards fan. So can you talk a little bit about how that process of you actually going to U of L happened? Like what was that process like for you?
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifelong fan because my grandmother and my mother actually both went there. So we've grown up cheering for the Cards. And then when I was being recruited was actually right in the middle of COVID happening. So it was kind of a crazy process and not normal to recruiting now or before COVID. I wasn't able to take a lot of visits. I actually don't think I took any. And so the options for schools, I knew I wanted to play in college, but the schools that I was talking to were pretty local. Um, and I think at the end of the day, when I had a conversation with the Louisville head coach and she kind of expressed like serious interest, I was like, wait a second. I can't say no to this. This is the highest level program that I'm talking to. And it's also like, how cool would that be to play for this team? So I think that's how I pretty much was just like, okay. Like at first I didn't know if I could do that. I was like, oh, maybe I need to go to a lower level and that sort of thing. But she kind of reached out and was like really seeing potential in me and seeing some talent. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make this happen. And so I kind of just took a leap of faith. I was like, it would be the coolest thing that I could do, so might as well. It was hard at first for sure, but I mean, I worked my way up and learned so much and it worked out in the best at the end.
Yeah, that's incredible. And now you obviously have this opportunity to go play at USC. Um, I obviously you've been through a lot over your 4 years playing, playing at Louisville, but um, how did USC come about? How did you end up, deciding to go there, and how did that opportunity come about for you?
Yeah. Well, the reason that I have an extra year is because my freshman year, I tore my ACL, and so I got a medical red shirt through that, which going through that was a lot of people do it, so it's unfortunately common, but it's hard and it's like everyone has their own individual journey through that. And so I was trying to compare my timeline to other people and I was like, "Oh no, everyone makes it back from this. Why am I struggling?" And so in the moment it's tough, but I looking back, I'm so grateful that I went through that because that gave me a chance to focus on being a good teammate and things off the field that I could do, and that just like helped in my career so much, and that also earned me a 5th year, which I kind of knew at the time that I wanted to take just because my freshman year wasn't really playing a lot and got injured, and so I kind of just wanted to make up that year, and so I also the closer to graduation that I got, I kind of realized I wanted to take it somewhere new because I'm from Louisville, I played at Louisville, I was like, If I could use soccer to take me somewhere cool, that would be kind of fun." So, I knew I wanted to enter the portal. That was crazy because the grad transfer portal opens October 1st, which is quite literally in the middle of the season. So, I didn't join right away, but I think I entered the portal, like, a week later. But we were still very much playing, and we were having great seasons, so we knew we were gonna play for a while, and I was like, "How do I do both? Like, how do I focus on the portal, talk to coaches who I'm honestly playing against right now?" Like, I was talking to coaches that I played the week after I talked to them, it was weird. And then I was trying to focus on playing, of course. So, that was just crazy, but I knew that before I chose a school, I wanted to visit there because this was like I kinda put a lot of pressure on the fact that I had 1 year left, and I wanted it to be a really good year and somewhere, like, pretty, different, and so I talked to a bunch of coaches, people like that is something I mean, beyond everything I've already mentioned, that's another reason I'm so grateful for U of L because I learned so much and grew so much as a player that I have these opportunities available to me to go other places. So, I was able to get a lot of attention in the portal and talk to a lot of different coaches, and kind of just the ones that stood out to me were places like, schools that were in neat places, and so when USC reached out, I was like, "Oh, LA, that'd be kind of fun." So but I didn't know right away, like, that was where I wanted to go. I took a lot of visits and kind of took my time, and through I think when I came out here and visited, I pretty much knew, like, when I went back to my hotel room that night, I was like, "I think this is gonna be it," because not just the location, but the coaches and the vibe that I got from them and the campus, the program, the opportunity to play in the Big Ten, like, all of that kind of stood out to me, and I was like, "This could be really a neat experience just for my final year." So, that's how I pretty much
Yeah.
ended up choosing USC.
That's amazing. Well, that's really interesting talking about the portal and, your experience there. Do you know how many teams or how many programs did you kind of talk with through that process? Or do you know how many kind of reached out to you? And
Yeah, well, I think I started to make a list because it was getting overwhelming, and I try to be a pretty organized person, so I was keeping track, like a spreadsheet of all of this. I had, like, over 70 teams reach out, and so I was
wow.
I at first I thought, "Oh," I didn't think that many were gonna reach out, so I was like, "Let me have a conversation with, like, everyone." That wasn't gonna happen, so I learned that pretty quickly that I could not talk to every coach, so I had to be pretty selective, I guess, in who I actually had a phone call with, because I learned that once you have a phone call, things move pretty quickly, and it's either like, "We're gonna have another call and you're gonna come on a visit," or it's not a match and we're done. So, it wasn't just like, "Oh, let me call everyone." It was, I gotta choose before I have a call if I'm actually interested in this school. So, yeah, I think I mean, I probably had 25 different phone calls with different schools, and then some were I had multiple calls, and of course, some I went on visits to. So it was a lot while playing, but I'm glad that I always said I was glad I got the opportunity to do this because, like I said, my first recruiting process was during COVID and I didn't get any visits. So this was kind of like my redo where I got to actually do the full experience.
Right. Well, that's incredible. So other than location, were there other things in the program or coaching staff that you were specifically looking for in terms of, making that move?
Yeah. Well, of course, I knew I wanted to or I had to pretty much go where there was a need for a center back because I knew that with my 5th year, I wanted to play and contribute significant minutes because, of course, who doesn't? So
Right.
that was something I was looking for. And then also, I knew I wanted to go to a school that was still at a high level. Like for some time, in the portal, a bunch of schools reach out that are at all different levels. But I kind of was like, I am used to playing in the ACC, which is, like, the highest you can get in college, and so I'm like, I don't know if I would feel as, like, satisfied or challenged if I was playing at a different type of level, and so I wanted to stay, playing very competitive level soccer, so that kind of helped me narrow things down, and then with USC and the other schools that I was looking at, I was really just trying to gauge whether the coaches would value me. As simple as that sounds, it's not always the case in college soccer, so you really have to be selective of, like, do they actually believe in me as a player? Because you want a coach who trusts you because you can play freer when your coach believes in what you can do. And so that was something I was really looking for in the portal so that I could play at my best. So
Yeah. Well, what are your expectations, you think, for this season in terms of, going to USC? I think you probably already started, training programs or conditioning programs potentially. So what are your expectations for this year?
Gosh, that's tough. Well, I mean, there are so many other good players on this team. I was actually getting so excited seeing USC women's soccer Instagram post the incoming transfers and freshmen and also the people who are already here because there's so much talent. And so I was like, this is going to be a really good team. Like some of the forwards and midfielders here and like they are high level players on the national team and like youth national teams. And I mean, it's a competitive environment, and so I'm really excited to see how we compete with in the spring, we're gonna have some games against, like, some of the local pro teams and local schools, and so I'm excited to see how those go, but I think for the season, like, I would love to see us win the Big Ten. It's a new conference for me, so I don't really know these schools that well, but 2 years ago, USC won it. I think we can do it again, so I'm really hoping that we have a chance to make a good run in that tournament and then, of course, make the NCAA tournament. I guess that would be my goal and kind of expectation for this team is at least to make the NCAA tournament and hopefully have a decent run in that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then just from a defender perspective, you're getting to practice against, those forwards and midfielders that you talked about, which helps increase your level, right? Because you get to then
Yeah.
see that on the field every day, and then you can translate that into your season, which is fantastic. So I do have some questions for you about NIL because I think your 4 years at Louisville has seen a big change from when you started off as a freshman through your senior year. Um, I really wanna kinda get your perspective on, what your experience has been like with NIL, like, what opportunities are out there for you, like, from a women's soccer perspective. I'd just love to kinda get your point of view on that and, talk through maybe what the changes have been since your freshman year.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think for me personally, I would say I've kind of just dipped a toe in the pond of what NIL can be. Like, I have done a couple of smaller deals here and there. I think I've done more of, like, the programs through a third party, like, marketplace type of deal because we have at Louisville, we have a NIL director, someone who helps us get set up with brands, and that was something that he talked about a lot was these third party, like, marketplace brands that can connect you with other brands, and that's for me, I found that to be the simplest way to land a brand deal. It's just, you don't have to go reach out to Nike, but there's these smaller companies who want athletes to promote their product, and so those are, like, the little deals that I've done, but I've seen through being at U of L, there's a lot of very well-known athletes, like, on the volleyball team, on the football team, like, people that I'm friends with, and even someone else on my team, I think that they have had maybe more, like, success with NIL, I could say, because I think it depends, especially with women's soccer, how much effort you put into it, and you can kind of get out of it what you want, but it is, like, since we aren't as high of a revenue sport or as, it just not as well known of a sport with as high of an audience, it's hard to get the bigger deals that, like, Louisville volleyball, for example, they would land very, very high value deals because people follow them and they have tons and tons of followers, so brands wanna work with them. But I think for soccer, you kinda have to build up your own personal following to land those types of deals, and so if you're willing to put in the work of posting on TikTok or Instagram often and building up a following, then you can see a lot of success with it. My roommate did that. But for me, I think I'm just not, I wouldn't consider myself an influencer. I try to, stay active on social media, but I'm not like that dedicated to it. And so it's harder for me to land bigger deals. So I have more success with using, my favorite is Market Price. That's this little like third party company that connects us to brands. And I just go through them and land the little deals, but I think still it's really cool, and I actually that was one of my goals coming out here to LA because, hello, it's LA, and I think there's so many opportunities, so I really wanna work on leveraging my NIL even more and trying to just make the most of it because I don't wanna look back and be like, "Oh, I wish I did more while I could," so, yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like there's a difference that yeah, I know you're just getting to USC, you're just kinda getting familiar with it, but have you noticed any differences so far just in terms of, NIL and, have they talked to you all about that yet?
Yes, I haven't had a chance yet to really have a conversation with someone here about it, but I know through talking to teammates and the coach and people on my visit, there actually is, I think, a difference because here I would say there's more opportunity for deals that aren't just post on Instagram in exchange for product. Like it's maybe an appearance or a photo shoot or a commercial. They do more of like that's more prevalent here because they're filming commercials on our campus every day. So I think there's more opportunity for that, which kind of excites me because, like I said, I don't consider myself an influencer, and that's not really my strength is like making TikTok videos. So for me to find a different way to utilize my NIL is kind of exciting, and that's what I wanna go towards, and I know, like, there's been girls on the team who have done photo shoots with Nike or a commercial that has been pretty valuable for them. So I think that's a difference just because that's more available to us here, whereas in Louisville, it probably is available if you're more of a well-known athlete and you have a bigger following, but here it's kind of like there's commercials happening all the time. So if they need a soccer player, they'll reach out and they'll send a soccer player. So there's a little bit more of that, I think, happening.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, good luck with that. I know it's challenging and it's ever changing, right? So you kind of have to stay up to speed on everything, but hopefully you can get some good deals out there and figure out ways to really leverage the NIL that USC has to offer. So really looking forward to seeing that for you in the future as well. But I want to shift gears a little bit because I wanted to talk to you just quickly about high school and club soccer. Um, I think there's a debate going on, in a lot of areas around the country, just how important if high school soccer still has importance. Club soccer has become so big with, all of the opportunities for, coaches and recruiters to see you at different levels across the country. So I'm curious, like, obviously this was, 4 or 5 years ago, like in high school, you're playing club, you're playing high school soccer. What impact did that have for you in terms of your ambitions to play D1 soccer as well?
Yeah. I mean, that's a very real conversation of like the importance of high school soccer and versus club soccer and both. I think, I guess What I learned in college is that coaches do value club soccer more. I would say, like, it's pretty rare for someone to be recruited from a high school team, but I think that high school still has an importance. Like, I think it's still there and it serves a purpose, and to be honest, it's fun, and that's a huge part of it. Like, it's the whole point of doing this is because we enjoy it, and so, I would say don't, especially for, like, people who are freshmen and sophomores, I wouldn't steer away and just lock in on club soccer yet because you wanna still enjoy it while you're doing it, and so if high school soccer's fun, play high school soccer because the season's so short at the end of the day, it's not like you're wasting time or missing out, you're still playing soccer, and so I think the importance for college recruiting purposes is on club, and then with that, I would say, like, I wish I so when I was playing club soccer in Kentucky, we didn't have the ECNL until, like, my senior year, and so I switched over to racing my senior year, but I wish that that was a chance for me before because, most college coaches, from what I have heard, value that over other club levels, especially just at a higher level of D1 program. They're gonna recruit more from the ECNL, and it gives you kind of a leg up of, like, potentially being able to play more right away when you show up as a freshman. And maybe that's just my coach, maybe that's just my experience, but I think there was a lot of value placed on, like, "Oh, you've been in the ECNL, you've played against these tough girls, you can hop right in." But, like, for me, I didn't really have I had 1 year of experience, and so it was more like, "Oh, you need more time to develop." So, I think if you can get yourself on an ECNL team and it's still fun, like, it still should be enjoyable and should be a good experience, and, of course, you wanna be playing, so if you're at the club level and it's, you know, too tough for you, I guess I would go where I'm gonna play for sure, but I think that that's what's important with club is being if you wanna be recruited, being in the ECNL if possible, but then, yeah, I think high school is still there and it's fun, and I for me, it helped me develop and it helped me honestly work on my fitness. We did a lot of fitness at Assumption, and I learned that that's something I really love and I value being fit, and I came into college, and for my 4 years there, I was always one of the fittest people on the team, and so that's something, like, I don't think I would have gotten that out of club because we never ran fitness at club. So, for me, I think that really helped me a lot playing high school.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it yeah, absolutely, and I think, just your work rate alone, so I've had the opportunity to kinda see you, as a coach as well, and I know that your work rate is extremely high, and I think that's something where, for someone who is a freshman or sophomore in high school that they may be playing club, they may not, they're playing, high school soccer. What is it that they should be thinking about? Whether it's fitness, whether it's strength and conditioning, or even like, how do they get seen now? There's just so many things, right? Like
Yeah.
so many social media areas out there to post highlight videos and try to email coaches and get a coach or program to notice you. But like what do you think about the best ways for those kids now to try to get noticed and try to be seen, as they're trying to plan for college?
Yeah, honestly, the posting and creating an Instagram for your highlight reels, like, that's new to me. That was not something that me or any of my friends did when we were getting recruited, so I don't even know if I can speak to that part, but I think from my experience, the best ways to be seen were through club showcases and then through going to ID camps, and I think that's still true. Like, I think a huge reason why I ended up at Louisville was through going to an ID camp. Like, I remember when this one specific camp is how I pretty much got recruited, and I wasn't gonna go because we had just had our Assumption camp at Louisville, and I was like, "I just played there, I don't need to go again." And then the coach reached out and was like, "I want you to come play at this camp," and because I did that, I pretty much got recruited. So I think, of course, she already knew who I was because of the high school camp and all of that sort of thing, but it's important to still go to those camps. If you're interested in a school, that's one of the best ways for them to find you. And then, like I said, college showcases with your club team. I mean, they're out there recruiting all the time. And I think if we put in the work send them emails before every showcase and be like, "I'm gonna be at this field, this is my number," and all that sort of thing. I think that's still important, is, like, making them know who you are, even though it's hard because 'cause I'm sure they're getting a lot of emails, but if you do the work to send them emails and it's like, some schools that you really are interested in, keep reaching out. Every showcase, keep reaching out because they will see that and they'll come watch you play, and that's, I think, how a lot of people get recruited. And the Instagrams and Twitters, like, I think that can help. I honestly think Twitter, from who I've talked to that's used Twitter, that has been a way that they've gotten recruited because there are, like, I don't think I know what they're called, but there's accounts who are designed to put kids' names out there, and so if you tag them in your highlight reel, they'll promote you, and then maybe colleges will see you through there, so that's another route to go, but I didn't really use that, so I'm not sure, but I know people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's definitely a challenge now. I think there's so many different avenues and so many different ways that coaches and programs use for recruiting. So I think you're right. Like a broad, putting out everything wherever you can, I think is probably the best approach, whether you're, doing club soccer or you're playing another sport. Um, but really, Hadley, I really just want to thank you for coming on, the 502 Sports Show today and kind of chatting a little bit about your experience at U of L. And best of luck to you, this season going to USC. That sounds really fantastic. I know we're going to be really jealous of the weather that you have out there, for during your season and conditioning and everything. So really just want to wish you, really good luck this year and hope everything goes well in the Big Ten. And we'd love to see you guys win the Big Ten championship so we can support you back here in the 502. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, this was fun.
Absolutely. And I do want to thank everyone for tuning in and just remind everyone to please give us a follow on all your social platforms. And we'll see you next time on a new edition of 502 Sports.